Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Change Agent Radio. And today I have an awesome guest. I have a superstar real estate agent who is very special to me. Not only is she a close friend, and she has been for years, she is also an agent in my market who is one of, if not in the top 5 top producing agents in my market. And I would say almost solely responsible for getting me into the type of sales that I've been into and encouraging me to find a mentor and a coach at a time when I really needed one. So I owe her a lot. I'm glad she's on here. Everybody, welcome Susan Heller. Susan, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jay. Thank you for the kind words. Always been a pleasure working with you.
Yeah, I love you. You're awesome.
You're the best.
So I think that the way I think that the listeners here will get the most out of this is like, you know, we all come from one place and it's different for everybody. And that place for us helps shape our life and shape the person we are. And sometimes they're good things, sometimes they're bad things, and sometimes they're just like some unique things, right? So before you were selling, well, actually, before we go into that, just give the listeners an idea of your volume or production in your career.
Well, I've sold over 2,000 homes, and I've been in business. This is my 30th year. I'm a broker, and I specialize in marketing, exposing, and selling real estate.
Yeah. Residential,
strictly residential.
Susan crushes it on the phones. 2,000 homes, that's a lot of homes. You guys know that. Let's rewind then. So how did you become, before you were this top producing agent selling over 2,000 homes, which is probably, I think you're being modest, probably closer to 2,500 or 3,000 knowing you. Where'd you come from? Like what happened? What shaped you?
You know, I've always been selling something to someone. My high school job, after school job, was on the phones. I was a telemarketer. I was prospecting. I was calling people, offering newspapers, offering exterminating services, all kinds of things. And I just love talking to people. After I graduated school, I went down to the Jersey Shore for the summer and I worked on the boardwalk. And I was fortunate enough to have a dart game. And I would call people over on the boardwalk and I would play darts with them. And
were you hustling them?
I was hustling. I made a lot of money for the guys I worked for. And ironically, I just sold a condo for one of my bosses from New Jersey. So it's those relationships, it's those connections, and just, you know, the love of people, not being afraid to talk to anyone anytime. And that's what I would say has taken me from the start of my career to where I am now.
That's awesome. So let's say when you're making calls as a telemarketer and selling like all different types of things, what's that like? And who are you surrounded with? Like, what are some of the things that you at that time may have learned from? Like, you know, like those like setbacks, like, you know, and then learn from those, and then maybe even stuff that you didn't know that you learned then that you use now, right?
And that's such a great question, Jay. Thank you. I was probably one of 20 girls in a room calling out, doing telephone surveys at the time. And we were all Carol Gray from CRC Account Line. We all had the same name. There were 20 Carol Grays. And we got hung up on, we got cursed at, but for the most part, and I still believe people are good. For the most part, when you call, if you have a service, if you approach them professionally, you're friendly, you're easy to talk to. I really enjoyed speaking with the customers on the other end of the phone and providing a service to really find out what consumers wanted. And after that, I had a printing career. I was in direct mail marketing, and I've got a big advertising background. And I was working with ad agencies. So I was calling and I was selling printing, direct mail marketing, very specialized services and products to ad agencies and end users. I sold football tickets, I sold hockey tickets. It was very unique printing. I did press checks. And that was really interesting because there was a lot of competition. There wasn't really competition in the telephone interviewing. But when it comes to printing, it's much like real estate. There are a lot of people going after a small group. So I was competitive, but I always provided a higher level of service. And that's one thing that has also taken me through my real estate career. When they say no, it's not personal. They're not saying no to me. They just don't have a need at that time. And again, providing a higher level of service with a repeat client brings the repeat business.
Yeah.
And the referral.
Yeah, no, it does. So there's all these different reasons why they're saying no, right? So they might not need it. And sometimes, like, I find it, and let me know if you find this too, that it's just a reflex to where they're immune to us calling because they're getting so many calls from other people.
That is so true, Jay. And that's where the compassion and the empathy for the client, what I learned, especially here in Southwest Florida, a lot of people are older. They're confused. They're frustrated. Their property didn't sell. They don't know what to do. They may not be making a move that they want to make. It may be medical. They could be in pain. So when they're upset or when they're angry, sometimes they can be a little grouchy. It's not me. And that is usually the person that needs even more care and hand-holding. They need me more than the person that is friendly. So that's where I come from, a place of contribution and see how I can help them. And with my experience in the business, I'll ask questions to see what they really need. And maybe they don't need me today. Maybe they're going in for a surgery. Maybe there's a reason why they can't sell now, but they may be selling in the future. So I try to develop that relationship and that rapport and see if there's anything I can help them with now or during the process between now and when they put it on the market.
Yep. No, that's awesome. And you are the opposite of what a lot of, especially newer agents, think about being a salesperson, because I know that a lot of newer agents, or millennials more specifically, feel that they're not a salesperson because the selling or being a salesperson is like a bastardized word. You know what I mean? Like no, I don't want to sell anybody. But the truth is, as you know, everybody wants to be sold, but you have to, we feel good, right? I mean, if you go somewhere, somebody sells you a Louis Vuitton and you go home with that, you get a good feeling. You love it.
Right. It's something that I wanted to purchase. And I think the other thing about sales is when you're looking at a seller, they want someone that knows how to sell. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and a buyer wants someone to help them through the process that has the experience, and both parties want someone that understands and cares about their needs. And that's where, the sales is a softer process. They don't want to be hard sold, but they want someone that can guide them and direct them and be a guiding force. Yeah, and it sounds like you do that through questions. Absolutely. That's the only way we know what their real needs are. Sometimes they don't even know, Jay. You know that. Yeah. Most times they don't. People think that they know what they want or they know what they need, right? They might know what they want, but they don't necessarily always know what they need. I find that that's why when we get if we don't have control of the conversation, and then we have the sellers or the buyers that, start drilling us with questions, and then we're thinking why the hell are they asking me that question? It's because they don't know what questions to ask. Exactly. And how many times do you do open houses, right? Well, and I think, right, sellers and buyers think that they need one thing, but when they look at what really works and they look at a track record of success and the actual steps that are taken to get the results they've been looking for, they might have a different need or a different approach that they're open to at that point. I think the other thing too, Jay, is, a lot of people, they're very proud, and they may have a need that they're not willing to share until they realize that we care. Mm-hmm. When you ask the right questions, what's important to them about the move and what's causing them to make the move, sometimes during the course of that conversation, and they can feel that you're there for them, that's when they're going to be there for you. Do you find that when you're calling, and it's, to me, and I know to you too, it's not cold calling when you're calling expireds and for sale by owners, because they have it, they want to sell. They do. It's not like you're calling out of a phone book. That's a cold call. Right? Exactly. But these people have a need, it's just identifying it. Do you find when they initially tell you why they want to move, do you usually find that that's the truth there, or that you have to dig deeper? I dig. Yeah. Quite often they'll give you the surface answer. Like you said, there's a reflex no. Sometimes there's a standard answer. We're not selling. We're not selling now, But when you find out, well, maybe they're selling next week. They're going out of town for the weekend and they're not selling today.
Yeah.
So it's by asking more and more questions that we develop their real needs, their wants, and the whole situation. And that's the only way we can help them is if we know what their needs are.
Yeah. So when you were growing up, you had a lot of different jobs, right? And you were telling me about one of your very interesting jobs. What was that like?
Is that the boardwalk? Is that what we're talking about?
Boardwalk.
The boardwalk was so much fun. I mean, you're down at the shore, the sun is shining, the ocean is there, and everyone's on vacation and they're having fun. And my job was, I was in an amusement pier, and I would call people over and we would play darts and we would engage in conversation. And it was light, it was fun, and I actually did the street festivals throughout New York. It was really kind of taught me how to not be afraid to make contact, to reach out to people, to talk to people, and to be in that face-to-face. Because, you know, as a high school kid, I was on the phone. I was in the safety of 20 other Carol Grays in a room. But here I was out in the one-to-one selling situation. And, you know, I just really enjoyed it. And everyone was friendly and happy. And I think it's really helped me to, you know, improve my face-to-face presentation skills, and then go right into the printing direct mail sales, where part of it was in person and the other part was phone. And I enjoy both. And that's what real estate does. It enables me to meet a lot of my clients face-to-face, yet some are out of town, as you know, and they don't even come back to Florida. They may have a medical situation, could be in a state. So I deal equally well with people over the phone and in person. And that's the skills that we really need to have, because not everyone is comfortable in both situations. I'm sure you found that in working with the agents that you train.
Yeah, and you absolutely, that's an awesome point, because you absolutely have to be. A lot of agents, they are so good with someone face to face, and that's what I hear all the time. But over the phone, like they're like, well, if I could just, like, you know, be face to face, that's where I'm really good. It's like, okay, well, to give somebody the opportunity in order to, like, for us, you know, it's different, right? Because we're in this market to where we have a lot of those people that, you know, we don't meet face to face, but we sell them. You know what I mean? Like we help them. But so many agents, it's you have to give them the opportunity for you to serve them. You have to do good on the phone so you can get in front of them.
Exactly.
You know?
That's absolutely right. And, you know, it's two different skill sets, I believe, but it's the communication. So when you are well-rounded and you refine your communication, knowledge is power, right? When we are comfortable that we can present, we can do it in person and on the phone. So I think, you know, it goes hand in hand. So.
And it's a hell of a lot easier to do it in person. If you can convert people over the phone that never met you, like, I think about that, because I know your track record. And just so you guys know, Susan is a better salesperson than I am. Just so you know this, okay? We're gonna get that. No, we're gonna get this shit straight, okay? Like, she's good, okay? But I know I convert like crazy over the phone. So, like, I can only imagine you. You know, like, do you track how many of your customers that you don't even get the opportunity to meet face to face?
You know, it's interesting because a lot of them, we're so seasonal down here in Southwest Florida that, you know, during the season, say January through April, I meet most of my clients. But after May 1st, a lot of them are gone. So, you know, from May until January, it's probably about half that I will meet. A lot of them I'll list during that period of time over the phone, and then they'll actually come down and we'll meet. For example, I listed one this week on Monday. I spoke with them over the weekend, and they're coming in over the weekend. We'll be meeting next week. But we didn't need to meet in person to get the property on the market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
You don't need to meet with me to sell the home. We can wire the funds right into your account.
And that is a really good salesperson when you can sell someone's most valuable asset without ever meeting them face to face, just over the phone. It's like, imagine this happening with you, right? I mean, like, I'm going to sell my property somewhere else. It's a big asset, big financial decision, maybe $500,000, right? Which is a lot of money. And this person, I built this level of trust with them that it's like, okay, that's the right person. And that's a lot of skill sets that you need to do that. That's good.
And I'm really honored that so many people have put that level of trust in me. I mean, it makes me very appreciative and grateful.
Yeah.
And it's important to me that I meet their goals, that, you know, we get these properties sold, that they have a smooth experience, and that it goes well, because this is, again, it's their biggest asset, or one of them. And it's, when my father sold his home up in the Villages, I noticed he was a high-powered business executive. He never had any problem making decisions when he was in the business world. But there was a big difference between 55 and 75. So the seniors that we work with down here, it's a harder decision for them. It's, you know, they worry about every detail. And so for us to be able to help them and guide them through that, it's so important. So I want to be able to, you know, ease their fears and take the worry and the stress away.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what we do best.
Did you know, side note, did you know that I was the nut boy at Disney?
No, I never knew that. That's great.
Yeah, very similar to working the boardwalk. I had my own nut cart, right, outside of the land in Epcot. And I sold my cinnamon glazed almonds and pecans to all the people that came by.
And awesome. You probably loved it.
I did. I loved it. You know, rejection free when you're in that area.
Exactly. Yeah. Everybody's happy.
Yeah.
It's Disneyland. The Jersey Shore is similar to Disneyland. And what a great opportunity to meet and greet. No rejection. I knew you were nuts, Jay.
Right? I know.
In such a great way.
Yeah. Sometimes in a great way, right? But yeah, it's like the only question was, you know, do you want one bag for 3 or 2 for 5? And that's the thing.
Same thing with buying darts.
Yeah.
You know, I don't remember exactly what they cost, but something like that, where if you buy more, you get, you know, you get the discount. So
same thing with closing for an appointment, right? Like, how do you close for an appointment when you want to set the time?
Well, are you available today between 2 and 3, or is it better tomorrow?
Yeah.
2 and 3 or 4 and 5.
Exactly.
The either or, the assumptive close. Exactly.
Exactly. It's not like, well, you know, we should meet, or, you know, do you want to meet? It's like, no, you assume it, you future pace, and are we meeting then or then? Because anything else is not logical.
Exactly. Just like you knew everyone at Disney wanted to buy your nuts.
That's right.
And everyone in the boardwalk wanted to play darts.
Yep.
Everyone out there with an expired listing needs to meet with me because I can help them. And that's the mindset that is crucial when we're making these calls or when we're face to face.
And a great segue into what I really want you to share with the listeners is, like, if you could give some nuggets of what has helped you, like, what would be your top 3 pieces of advice that have framed you to be such a superstar that other agents can benefit from?
Sure, that's a great question. I'd say the first is prospecting. I get on the phones. Most of my business, almost all of my business, comes from the phone. Now, I do get repeat and referral business quite often, but it originated with that first phone call to meet the client that was able to refer their family member, their neighbor, their friend. So it's having that morning schedule that I'm on the phone. I get up at 5:30 for the gym every day. 6:15 I'm at the gym. 7:30 I'm on the phone with a role play partner practicing my script so that I can best serve and present to the client.
So you tell me after 30 years, you're still practicing every day?
I have to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, professional athletes, they practice every day.
Yeah.
So at 7:45, I'm on the phone until noon every day. My schedule is set in stone. And if I don't have appointments, I'm back on the phone. And I work Saturdays. I work every other Saturday morning. I work every Monday evening. So I am very structured and scheduled. Otherwise, I don't know that I'm going to accomplish my goals, and that's important to me.
So let's talk about how you would know or not know if you could accomplish your goals, right? So do you track numbers?
I do.
What does that look like?
Well, I know how many contacts I want to make in a day, and that's 50. I want to speak with 50 people. They may hang up on me, but it'd be 50 decision makers in one day.
Nice.
Yes. Well,
if you do you know about how many contacts it takes per appointment, right? Like, is that something that you typically keep track of?
I do. Right now, we're a little bit higher in the contacts to appointments because at this, well, and it's very seasonal. So a lot of people are taking them off the market right now. They're waiting a little bit. So the contacts is higher. I've been anywhere from 12 contacts to appointments to 25 contacts to appointment now. So again,
which is amazing. So you're telling me that, you know, an agent, if they can practice, right, and be even half as good as you, right, they might be able to get an appointment out of every 50 contacts, right?
Yes, sure.
I mean, it's realistic, but agents don't know because they don't track their numbers. And the point is, right, that you track your numbers so that you know what's going to come of it. And that must help your mindset, right?
It does. And you know what else it does, Jay? It tells me also where I've gone off. You know, sometimes I can have a chatty person on the phone. I'm not going to say male or female, but I can have a chatty.
Right, well, I think we know.
Some of our seniors are lonely and they get a friendly person on the phone.
That's
I might
right.
be the only call they have that day. So I don't want to cut them off, but sometimes I'll look at my counter and it says, I've been on the phone for 43 minutes.
Oh my God.
I know, that's exactly what I say. But then I look and I say, okay, I've been on the phone for 3 hours and I've only made 10 contacts. So then I say to myself, I need to work tonight. I need to get my contacts up. Or maybe I need to work Saturday because I didn't hit my contacts during the week. I try to do it on a daily basis because, you know, with anything, if you fall behind, it's harder to catch up.
Yeah.
So I don't want to fall behind too much. But the other thing with the numbers, I don't go on every appointment I set. When I talk to them, part of the questions I ask are their goals. You know, what do they want to sell for? What's the price? Where do they want to go when they sell? These are all things that I want to know. And if I run the numbers and if the market won't bear what they're looking for, I'm going to call them back and I'm going to be honest with them before I go. Mm-hmm. So there is a certain fallout of appointments set to actual appointments made.
Yeah, and that's good that you say that because I know that most agents, even top producers, don't know that, or even if they do know that, don't practice it.
Well, and that's why I wanted to differentiate between the appointments that I set. That's right in the prospecting session, but at the end of the week, you know, I may go on 3 or 4 appointments. And again, this time of the year, I may not, well, as we get out of the season, closer to the summer, I may not actually be going on all those appointments. But if I'm preparing a CMA and scheduling a future conversation, that becomes an appointment because they aren't coming here to make a decision.
Yep. So prospecting, and with that, staying with a consistent schedule, right? How important is follow-up?
Follow-up is crucial. And I think, Jay, I'm so glad you brought that up because that's where a lot of agents miss the mark. They prospect, then they don't follow up. And what is it? Over 90% of the listings taken come in the 8th or more contact. So to think you're going to set an appointment in the 1st, 2nd, 3rd contact, you know, you've got to follow up. And I think there's a fine line between following up with a purpose or following up with someone that's not motivated. So that comes back to the questions.
Yeah.
You know, what are they looking to do? Why are they taking it off the market? Give me a reason why I want to follow up with you. Is there a reason why you're waiting, or are you just not motivated? Motivation is key. You know that. I know that.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for on every conversation. You know, it's like, what's their motivation? Because if they're not motivated, okay, well, is it something to where I feel that there's a significant thing that is going to be happening in their life that will cause them to have that motivation in the next 6 to 12 or whatever time frame, right? Or is it just the fact that, you know, they, for some strange reason, want to put the home on the market and not have any interest in selling it?
Well, exactly. And, you know, with us being so seasonal, we both saw many of those listings that come on in December and they come off 6 months later. Yeah. Well, we just wanted to test the market. We just wanted to see if we could get our price this year. But again, in the same breath, there are people that, as you said, take them off because there's a life event. Usually it's a life event. You know, we're waiting for a daughter to finish high school. We were going to move and she got so upset that we're waiting another year. So I will do those follow-ups because there's a reason why they would need to wait. I want to be there to help them when they're ready. Yeah. So I do keep in touch, and I want to make sure that they think of me when they're ready.
One of your strong skill sets, and I don't know if you're even like aware of this, but you know your avatar, right? Like client, the person who you serve, right? It's different for everybody. I mean, some people typically work with, new homeowners, or, maybe someone who, new families, like that kind of stuff. But that your average client that you work with, what's going on in their life typically, right? Like, what are they typically thinking? What are they feeling? And what are those life events that they're going through? So you can anticipate those needs and use them to your and that client's advantage when you're talking to them, to help them make that right decision that they're looking to make.
Exactly. It may not work for them to sell now. It may be better for them to sell in 3 months or 6 months. Capital gains is another thing that they may want to talk about. They may want to do a 1031 exchange. So for many reasons, they may need to wait. Mm-hmm. So I'm always asking the questions, getting involved in their lives. And sometimes they'll call me a month or two later and say, hey, I'm ready. Yeah. I love that. Or sometimes they'll call and say, what's it worth today? We need X amount of dollars to clear a mortgage. Or we need X amount of dollars to go buy the next home, or whatever the case may be. But they'll call periodically and say, hey, do you think I'm ready? Or sometimes I'll go out and I'll help them stage it. They may need to put beautiful new flooring in. They may want to put in some new light fixtures or a quartz countertop, new appliances. I'll go out and give them, because I specialize in helping people who have expired or terminated listings that couldn't sell with the other agent. Mm-hmm. I'll go out and I'll give them a second set of eyes to see what may have stopped it from selling. So sometimes they may have homework. Mm-hmm. And then they'll call me a month later and say, we did all the repairs, we're ready. So It's things like that bring us back to the lead follow-up, the communication, the contact, the connection that you make with that client. And that's how we can help them. Because frankly, there was one on Gulf Shore, I'll never forget. They were with several agents and they couldn't sell $4 million listing because they didn't have a view. I asked them if they reached out to the association to trim the palms. Multiple offers in 30 days.
Amazing.
It's just being creative and thinking out of the box. And it's happened with a lot of the small condos, single family homes, just going in and being a second set of eyes. Hey, let's do some fresh paint. I had one that was it was listed as a 2+ den, a small single family home, and it actually had access to a closet on the other side. I said, well, this is a 3-bedroom. Mm-hmm. It's got a closet. We just break through the wall. So we sold that after several agents. But it's seeing what is stopping it from selling and how can we fix it. It's troubleshooting. And that's another thing. My being really creative can help to get properties sold. And that's the questions that we have to ask to the seller and the buyer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Feedback is crucial. And when you've got listings, what's going on with that? And that's the other thing that I think the agents want to know when they're looking at listing property, or why are their listings not selling?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Those questions are so important. I know that, and I've never had a $4 million listing. My highest was, I think, probably like 1.5. My average is lower around the under 3. Now, under 3 is usually my avatar, like that client is looking to either sell or rent out the property. So when I can upfront give them those two choices and embed that into their mind, then at that point they're like, okay, this person's now thinking differently, right? So now they can start thinking differently. It captures their attention, and then the conversation can move, and it also builds that trust, which is what you're doing at the same time with those clients, because you're thinking differently, a service that someone else wasn't able to provide just because, I don't know, maybe they just didn't care enough.
Exactly. Or they didn't ask the right questions. They didn't get the feedback. You need to know everything that's going on. I love how you do that. And I've always referred the rentals to you, but you do such a great job of whatever they need. I'm here. And my price ranges are low end to high end. I do everything in between. As long as they need to get it sold, I'm the girl. And I love to be creative. I love the challenge of selling something that other agents couldn't, because those are the people that really need us. And, with us being able to work together, it's always benefited.
You know what I found from basically what you just said, it triggered in my mind, the more pissed off they are on the phone, the more they need your help. And the more motivated they are, because they're frustrated because the home didn't sell, and now they have all these agents calling them. So it's like, what do I do? And then, and of course, like, put yourself in their shoes. But agents don't understand that. But you recognize it, and that's probably a part that keeps you. I know you were saying mindset's so important, right? That's probably something that keeps your mindset tip top.
You are so right, Jay. And that's, they'll yell and they'll scream and sometimes I call them back. I may wait a day. I may call the next number in my call log. The husband may scream at me, and then the wife answers the phone and she really needs me. And again, he may have had, back pain. He may be recovering from surgery. He may be just, again, really frustrated because of the market. And the wife says, oh, I'm so sorry for my husband. We really need to sell that property. I'm so glad you called. So, and sometimes just calling a day or two later, because they're bombarded. They're getting 20, 25 agents calling. They don't know who is a brand new rookie and who really cares and has the expertise to help them. And that's where we really have to stand out and show them that we're different and that we do care.
Yeah. Well, I know this too. It's what frustrates me is the fact that they get so much bullshit from people that are calling, like untrained agents. And those untrained agents, not you guys listening, but the untrained agents that are calling them and just telling them bullshit about like just stuff that's filling their minds with these false truths. So now makes our job harder,
yes,
right? And easier in a way, but pretty much harder to break through and to build that level of trust.
Well, and a classic example of that is where an agent says, oh, take it off the market for 30 days to reset the days on market.
Yeah.
And my response to that is, Jay, you can do that. But who really looks at days on market? It's the sellers, not the buyers. Mm-hmm. You've been looking at property. Have you ever decided not to buy a property because it's been on the market too long?
Yeah, no kidding.
If they love the property, it's priced right, they could care less how long it's been on the market.
Yeah.
And the seller thinks about that, and logically, yeah, it makes sense. The only thing that'll happen by taking it off the market is you guarantee you won't sell it.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. It's so frustrating when they get bad advice, and quite often the last agent gave them bad advice, and that's why it didn't sell. But that's why they need us. So.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing, right? You talk about a new agent that in state of Florida anyway, 64 hours to get your real estate license to sell someone's most valuable asset, right? But at the same time, it takes 2,000 hours to get a barber license, 2,000 hours to cut someone's hair, right? And $10 haircut, and 64 hours to sell someone's most valuable asset. And they don't know. So like the advice that I've given to sellers in the past, I said, look, before you hire an agent, Google them, right?
Absolutely.
You Google what paint you're going to buy. Why wouldn't you Google your agent?
Right. I go to Yelp before I go to a restaurant. Yeah. Before I get a cup of coffee, I need to check a review. So when it comes down to agents, right? And how many agents, when you're prospecting, and this may be a tip for new agents, but they're using their company's sales data. Their track record isn't their personal track record like mine and yours is.
Yeah.
It's the company. So there could be 40 agents that sold 100 homes last year, but not one agent selling 100 homes a year. That's the difference. And the sellers don't get it. Mm. They, for example, I've seen them come on the market, and I've spoken with the seller, and they say, oh, I listed with this agent. He does so much business. And I pull the data, and it's a newbie.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because the sellers don't know.
They have no clue.
Yeah. It's up to us to really stand out. And that's where just the conversations we have. How many times has a seller said to you, you're different. You're the only agent I've stayed on the phone this long with.
Yes, absolutely. Because we ask them, I know you do this too, but I'll ask them because most of my clients I've never met face-to-face. Like most of mine never met face-to-face. I would probably say in the last few years of actually selling real estate at a high level, somewhere around 80% of those were not face-to-face. And I asked them, I say, like, what caused you to hire me? What makes me different? And a lot of times they don't know right away. And they're like, I don't know, like, you're just different and you cared and like, so it's always along those lines. So top three, we're talking about the consistent prospecting, and then we're also talking about mindset and service. Was it those three?
Yes, customer service is huge because just like you said, you know, you do a good job, you hope it gets out there. But if you do a bad job, it is definitely getting out there. So you want to make sure that you're providing a high level of customer service that people want to tell their friends good things. They feel good at the closing. You've gotten them a fair price. You've done it in a reasonable amount of time. You've done everything you've promised to do. Clients are thrilled to refer you because when they're selling a home or buying a home, they're talking about it. And their friends are asking questions, their neighbors, they see the sign go up and come down. That is the best source to build future business. When you take a new listing, for example, I call around within the community. I want to let the neighbors know because quite often people move around. They are in an estate home and they need to scale back and get into a smaller single, or people in a condo want to sell the condo. They're down here more often, family and friends are visiting. They want to get into a larger home, or they want a private pool or an extra garage. So the best source for buyers is within the community, either the neighbors themselves or the renters, or potentially a family member or friend of a neighbor who has seen the community and wants to buy. So that's our just listed call, where you get to know all the neighbors. Nothing better than the just sold call, especially if I called you a neighbor last week and I can call you a week later and say, Jay, that home we listed over on Primrose Lane for the Jones family, it's sold. But I've still got buyers looking. Who else do you know that might want a home in the community? I know you said you weren't thinking of buying, but hey, who do you know? I've got these buyers I need to help today. I've got extra buyers. Yeah. So those kind of things, that level of service for the seller, and then for the future sellers, that brings the repeat and referral business, and it builds your future database. So do a good job. Do everything that you say you'll do. Mm-hmm. Tell the neighbors. And then when you've done that, tell them again that you've actually done it. So it's, you know, it's just keeping the momentum and building that relationship and rapport with the clients where they feel good referring you. You're the family realtor. Hi, it's Susan, your realtor. Exactly. So, and they know immediately who you are. You don't need to say it's Jay Berube. I don't need to say it's Susan Heller. Mm-hmm. They know it's Jay, it's Susan. So, yeah. And I like that. I enjoy the clients and they know that. I love what I do and it shows. So. Yeah. That's the service piece of it. And we've gone to great lengths to improve our customer service because we know how much people are counting on it and counting on us. We're here. Like you said, 80% of them aren't here the majority of the time. Yeah. They may need a good landscaper, a good cleaning person, a good painter, 1031 exchange company.
They definitely need that stuff. I can tell you so many times, and I know you probably have a million of these stories, but even in my own personal home that I live in, and I own a property management brokerage, right? And I am friends with this person. I had him come over because my pool heater's not working, and I got 2 kids, right? And it was kind of cold. So comes over, checks it out, diddles around, and he knew what he was doing, right? But, you know, I trusted him. And he says, yeah, Jay, geez, man, you're going to need a new unit. I'm like, this is 4 years old. Are you sure, man? He's like, yeah. So I trust him. And then I said, yeah, get me some quotes, right? You know, we get busy.
Sure.
So he comes back with a quote, and you know what pool heaters. He's like, yeah, so if you want this one, the average one's probably going to be about $7,500 for a pool heater.
Wow.
For an effing pool heater.
That sounds high, Jay.
Oh, yeah, I don't even have a, yes. And it's not
I don't have a pool.
I don't have a hot tub. I don't even have a hot tub, right? So I'm like, yeah, so I held off because I'm like, that's kind of a big nut to swallow, right? And then my wife, after like 3 months, said, you know what, Jay, like, let me call somebody else, have them come out there. $42. It was a loose wire. It was a loose wire.
Oh, no.
This is the kind of bullshit that happens with someone like that. I live here and I'm in the business. This is the kind of stuff that happens to me. So we know how often it happens to other people.
And I've heard from clients and the gouging, and not to mention, but roofers. We're hearing quotes anywhere from $10,000 to $50,000.
And they get the deposit, and then all of a sudden, 9 months later, nothing's been started, and they're pissed off.
We see so much of that.
Yeah.
I mean, there are still people after Hurricane Irma that don't have their roofs done. So, but again, that's where we come in. We're resources. These contractors, they're tried and true. We've used them. And typically, when we give a referral from our golden Rolodex, it's someone that respects us and our business, and they'll do a good job for our clients.
Yep.
So that's a resource that we provide, and I take that seriously, and I know you do too. So these are just additional services, and we will help the clients. If they're not in town, then we can help meet the contractors, get the estimates. It's that step up rather than there they are in another state up north trying to find out who's not going to gouge them.
Yep.
So it's tough.
Yep. So, Susan, I think that we gave the listeners plenty. You really gave a lot of good nuggets and some good recaps and some good tips for agents. Anything you want to leave them with?
Don't go it alone. I hired a coach. It's crucial because you need the accountability. You need someone when you start to go off track. It's like driving that car without a roadmap, today it's navigation. But when I first started real estate, steering the wheel with the roadmap open, your coach is your roadmap. And I have multiple coaches. It's crucial in this business, especially getting started. I would not be in business without a coach because I know so many times over the years when the market took its turns and dips, this way I have someone to talk about. I could have a bad day, maybe a bad week, but I'm not going to have a bad month or worse yet, a bad year. Yeah. And just, when you think about the cost of coaching, typically, one deal will pay for it for the whole year. So to me, it takes you to the next level that much faster. Do you want to jumpstart your business, or do you want to make those mistakes yourself where you could be learning from someone else's?
I know. It's like mistakes are good and bad. It's like they suck and they're expensive. So we want to reduce them as much as possible.
It's like you can't afford to pay for coaching. Well, really, can you afford not to?
I know.
What's the cost of a mistake?
Yeah.
It's so much better to do it right the first time. So
guys, just make sure that when you do look into coaching or any type of informational products, just do your research, right? And make sure that whoever you end up choosing is a good fit for you. Now, Susan, do you mind if anybody that's listening to this podcast or watching this podcast, if they're from another state, do you mind if they refer you business?
Oh, I would love it, Jay. Do I mind? Thank you so much.
I just want to make sure that's okay. I don't know if you're taking on new clients at the time.
Absolutely. And they can also reach out if they have questions. I mean, I'm always happy to share and help other agents. So.
Got it. Susan Heller, RE/MAX.
239-248-8000. That's my cell. Call, text.
And refer her business.
Please.
All right. Thanks, Susan, for being on.
Thanks so much, Jen.
You got it. All right. See you guys.
Good luck, guys.
Alrighty. See, not bad, right?